Hello, everyone. My name is Vilon. I'm from Zanroo. Right. Thank you for inviting us on behalf of Zanroo to present what we think could be relevant to help you in Meet Taipei. Thank you to the organizer. Thank you to Blackstone Consulting. And let me just quickly share screen because I know time is precious for everyone. Right. I want to quickly go into the materials that I prepared for today. Right. Okay. We were given a topic, right? When I was brainstorming with them, what should we present for Meet Taipei? Actually, they told me, right? There's a lot of concerns on how Taiwan's business can enter to a new market, especially the Southeast Asian region, right? That's why the topic given to us is how can we help potentially you to minimize the market entry risk with the extensive use of social data. And of course, before that, right, I need to help everyone on the floor to understand that what is Zanroo. Right, Zanroo basically is a company that was set up around data technology, and then we are a bunch of people that are really passionate on solving data problems, whether it's the data generated by human or the data generated by machines. We always trying to find ways that we can connect between the two and draw the lines that we can start to understand how data can be connected in the futures. To be honest, we make some small success, but it is still far away from talking about power of data create for powerful change. But it never stopped us from putting it as a vision because we want to guide ourselves, going down to the missions on how can we establish a more agile principle on handling data analytics, right? Building machine learnings, algorithms, and also process automations. And all these are important because we know, right, company want to save time and they want to save money through better transparency with actionable intelligence. With this in mind, right, I want to quickly go through with you where are we, right? Zanroo is not really a US company, not really a UK company. Zanroo itself is actually built and raised in Thailand, Bangkok, back in 2013. And then in the next year, we are very quickly to branch out to Malaysia market. And for your information, this is where I am in, right, raising the APAC office. And then we also have office later in the Indonesia, in the Singapore, and also in Tokyo, Japan. And together with these 5 country offices so far, we are jointly supporting the below markets, right? Namely all the Southeast Asian countries, the North Asia, right, including Hong Kong, Taiwan, and also going down to the south of Australia and to the east of the Pakistan and Middle East, right? This is where today, as we speak, where our landscape is. And this slide is what I want to share with you on some of the clients around different industry use Zanroo, right? So you get an understanding that you have the consumer groups, you have the retail, you have the insurance, you have the FI, you have the F&B, you have automotive and all this, right? And to give you a better perspective, right, usually I would prefer to table them into these formats. Example of use cases. Right. If I break down Zanroo use cases into 4 priorities, right, on the top you will see this is where we talk about performance marketing measurements. Right. For airlines, insurance company, media company, where their main objective is to grow community, grow the influence, and grow their sales, right? Naturally, when they use Zanroo, their priority is over here. Then, of course, when you have a company like Nestle and L'Oreal that are very sensitive to the voice of public, very sensitive to complaint, you realize that they tend to hire us for these reasons to pick up complaint, and then very quickly they would deploy their teams to go down to resolve the issue and turn the complaints, either you mute them, right, politely ask them to take down after resolutions, or you measure them and turn them into happy customers, right? This go a long way in measuring what we call the public reputations. And then, of course, you also have a very established company that don't just look into short term, they look into long term imaginations of the changing behaviors of generations and stuff like that. That's why they hire us for social research. This is where we got to do a bit with the entry risk, right? Of course, the rest, they use our other technologies to manage all their online assets, Facebook, Twitter, Line, and all these into one place, so they can use a ticketing system to talk to all the frontier of customer touch points, and you synchronize all the CRM of the public data that today it is still on silo in most of the company managing it, right? Without a system, you have to go into Facebook, go down to Line, and then all the data are not talking to each other. And this is what we solve with our social engagement product. So next, right, I was told that this is a half technology, half business oriented conference. So I'm very passionate that I have a chance to show you just 3 slides to basically tell you the core technology of Zanroo, so that you will know in the later example when I show all the reports and all these things, you will immediately understand how it happened, right? So as you can imagine, Zanroo definitely is a core tech that has a pattern to scrap the entire internet for data, right? And if you zoom into how we scrap the data, basically we are targeted to the voice of consumer, namely the social media, the blogs, the forums, etc., in different countries. So we are able to gather this relevance data into our crawler, and then we will stream through the message queue to collect all the data into our data cloud. Right. Once this process is done, we can start to analyze. But if I want to show you how different is Zanroo, I want to zoom into the small bubble. Right? This is what happened in every single small bubble. In real time, every single small bubble, the message that comes in, we will process and restructure them. How? Right? We will first look into which channel they're coming from, what kind of language that we think they are, and then tabulating all the keywords that we're able to map. And then we try to process it in terms of sentiment, right? To understand whether this message contains emotions of positive, negative, or neutral. And then after all this is done, we will store it in either our product listening or either our search product, right? Once the first and the second tab is done, you will see this is what our third visualizations and analysis is about, right? We're able to look into the trend, the engagement, the word clouds, and also the topic and network cluster, right? What I mean is if you look into the trend line, right? This is where we can trace the topic up and down, going into the cluster, right? This is what you see as a cluster. Basically, the cluster is nothing but about aggregating all the relevant topic together and see how the message goes out and exploded in the internet. Okay, so as you can see, when I put this 1, 2, and 3 together, right, then you realize that what we really do is turning the data to intelligence, right? Whether it's understanding the topic in the impact, whether it's understanding the sentiment of an issue or topic, watching the trend lines, detecting the hot and also the blind spot, something that is very, very tiny that usually people don't notice, and then mapping the entire network. But the real benefits of all these things, in terms of our USP on why the client trusts us, is because, number one, we are very good at language because we don't use English keywords, right? We use pattern recognitions. What does it mean? It means that we are able to capture language. For example, if I say, Taiwanese use Chinese, but it is not simplified Chinese, it is traditional Chinese. And we go one layer down. It is not just traditional Chinese, but the Taiwanese traditional Chinese, which is very different from the Hong Kong traditional Chinese. And we spend time working with partners to solve that kind of problems. So when we talk about auto sentiment, the sentiment is reflected to the real language, especially the internet language that the market is using. And this is the number one strength that Zanroo has. Number two strength is, of course, we emphasize a lot, as I said just now, on local data source. Reason being is I cannot assume a high level data and then I understand the market. We must go down to the relevant forums, right? Every country have a different Facebook pages that is influencer, different forums, different blogs and all these things. And we make sure we increase this kind of crawlings in order that we can scrap a lot of relevant data to begin the analytics. And after that, we also have a very different, I would call, data structuring feature that is different from most of the tools out there, that we use a multi-level keyword structures. So we can see like maybe financial world going into bank. Under the bank, we have the saving account, right? Under the saving account, we can have other things, or we can turn it to a company. You have 4 divisions, or 4 divisions have a property, have another one, has another one. This is how we use what we call the multi-level keywords to manage the data, right? And all these data are protected, right? Which is very important because it's critical for brands, and we are very responsible to maintaining the data recovery, backup, and all the protocols under the ISO or 27001. This is how our basic unique selling point, right? Zanroo is not just a technology company, but we also hire a lot of analysts to try to understand what it means from the data. right? So this is my fifth hidden USP that I want to share with you, that we are able to understand data very quickly, right? What I'm showing you now is a case study coming from Malaysia last week when the parliament tabled a new budget plan for 2021, aiming with the big subject of fighting the COVID pandemic, reviving the nation's rebuilding economy. But on the same day, when the table on the parliament with a live streaming at 7 p.m. when we cut off, this is the data that we collected. And this is a sentiment that we understand. It is not looking very, very positive. I will tell you why. So actually the impact was formed by a few clusters, right? The first cluster here, the yellow one that you see, is basically the idea that, hey, why not you withdraw your own retirement fund so you can withdraw your own money that you save from your years of working, especially when you're unemployed. You got no more money, right? So you can at least draw from your own retirement fund earlier at a fixed account, right? And this is one of the biggest topics. The second topic, the light blue color, is talking about all government will just pay out cash. We'll pay cash to the qualified poor citizens that they label as the below 40%, the B40, right? Then they also have a smaller subject like giving some money to the frontliner who combat, whether it's the police, the medical officers and all these things. And also the no blanket monetary extension. So for your information, Malaysia at the beginning of the COVID, they allowed the nation's netizens to stop paying for their car loan and the house loan for 6 months, right? In order that they don't feel the pain earlier, right? But now it's already resumed. So they are talking about, let's continue this for the B40, that they continue not surviving, so we just continue the money support to help them to not paying the loans. And when we zoom into the whole topic, right, withdrawing own saving money from what we call the provision fund or the saving of retirement fund is not being welcomed, right? For a few reasons. Because some are saying that 500 RM in Taiwan dollar, I think is about 4.5 thousand or 5,000 Taiwan dollar, is too low to spend for anything. But the worst is a lot of the below income people, they don't even have enough money to withdraw. So this whole idea was perceived quite negatively, but that's the beginning, right? This one, right? 76% negative. Why? Because a lot of people are saying that with all the taxpayer money, you are just giving up free to help the below 40 without very effective use of building their own strength to survive. You are just giving them money to spend. This is not going to help this group. And in fact, you're going to loan, right? The government have to loan for more money, indebt more money for future generations to pay back, in order you can just give out the free money where the below community are happy, right? And going down into no blanket monetary extension, right? This is steroid. If you're not able to pay back loans, if I continue to let you have the freedom of not paying the loan, you are not going to pay back the loan, right? So people already see this coming. So the netizen is really, really serious in talking about this issue. So if in a nutshell, within the same evening night, we concluded that this is half-baked budgets that were perceived by the public, not from Zanroo Works. A lot of people think this is incomplete. You're just spending 2 hours talking about how you're giving out financial aids to people, but there's nothing about constructive suggestions on how you can rebuild the economy, transform, and all these things. Is very minimal, right? Why I give you this? Because in Zanroo in Malaysia, this kind of report is in the hands of the Prime Minister office. It is the hands in the Ministry of Finance. It is the hands in the opposition's politicians, and also in the hands of a lot of corporates paying customers. Because Zanroo, when we build this report, we just want to gather the understanding as quickly as possible, so the lawmakers, the decision makers, the governments can quickly adjust and enhance what they need to do to make up to the expectations of the public in the right way, right? To me, I'm glad to share with you that in some cases, Zanroo is already at the national level, right? To be very serious in building the big data understanding for a nation's perspective. But after this, I want to go back into a smaller perspective, right? Let's look into a bank, right? Why I pick this report? Because I believe some of your company may have different countries orientations. So for example, this bank, they have a few countries. They are in Malaysia, they are in Thailand, they are in Philippines, right? And if they contract Zanroo to look into an overviews, to look into all the countries, this is how we could build from them, right? Of course, we talk about the objective. Most importantly, we talk about this is a 1 month period, right? We will check the locations of different countries, going down into different local languages, right? Looking through all the social media and the onlines, and then scrapping their competitors as well, right? What happens is we are able to produce this kind of thing for you, right? For your own brand names, how many percent are coming from the most active countries, right? Versus last month, for example, this is February versus March 2020, and going down into your country-specific public sentiment in one page, in just one page, and then going down into breaking down by countries versus your competitor. Right? For example, the red color is you, and then the yellow color is the number one brand, right? Helping you to understand where your competitor is positioned in different markets, and then going down into a country-specific view of your trend line of that market, right? Who are talking about you? Is it yourself, the official voice? Is it the contest that generate for you, or the influencer behind you, or some of the media are quoting you in terms of news? And then understanding what drive engagement. Is it a campaign, a product launch, a contest, and some of this, and giving the description and the screenshots, right? We can do this for every country for you. And then going down into when people talk about your mobile apps, for example, as a bank, you launch your own mobile app for digital transfer or wallet and all these things, right? Is it more positive mentioned and more negative? If it is negative, why, right? This is also something that we go into. We call it the verbatim, right? Then we zoom into a more deep dive into a more fair comparisons between your competitors as well. So you can see that the whole structure is from the top, going down to countries, going down to issue, going down to trend line. So you have the complete understanding of the whole entire month in that market, what happened, right? This is all about what happened, right? And going down into like, if I put a lot of content out there, comparing to my competitor, right? If I want to work into a percentage, right? What works better, right? Is it the promotion works better, corporate branding, and going down into what kind of posts that can garner a better benchmark of performance, right? And it's very important that this kind of report, right? When client asks us how fast can we deliver, it really depends. Some we are talking about for monthly report, for example, the next month within the first week we will send this to you. And some, if they require us to deep dive a bit more, right? For example, I want to look into loans, and then you have to tell me in the banking loan what actually drive questions. If you require more deep dive like that, maybe we need 14 days, right, before we can send this report to you or present it to you. Then of course, our relationship with client is when we present to you and then you ask us in terms of feedback, we will go back again and try to tell you more. This is a relationship that we've been building with client. So they see value into how we can help them to fight against opportunities and also the risk, right? This is on a regional basis. And if it is not a regional company, this is where I'm going to show you a local level report, right? As you know, Grab is actually a regional account, but we're talking about Grab Malaysia, right? For 1 month, right? Looking into their own self, right? This is their own self. As you can imagine, if you are a company like Grab, you have a lot of portfolio like GrabFood, your payment, your vehicle, your supermarket, and also your logistic delivery. Then within this cluster of your key business unit, you want to know what kind of topic that is driving the conversation. This is where we will rank for you, right? Basically, these are the 3 topics that is mostly talk about you for that month. And then going into a head-to-head with another very popular regional player called Foodpanda, right? As you can see here in Malaysia, in terms of internet share of voice, Foodpanda is dominating with 71% in the relevance of the universe. And then you can see in terms of channel, they are very similar, right? Facebook is more than 60%. It's normal because for your information, the entire social network around Southeast Asian countries are driven and dominated by Facebook. I think it's very similar like Taiwan as well. And then when you go in there, right, this is one slide that I will explain a little bit better. For a company like Foodpanda, do you think they are the voice of everything? What I mean is the whole social media on the internet, when they talk about Foodpanda, is it all from yourself? Statistically, I'm telling you that as in Malaysia, it's only 1%. What does it mean? It means whatever that you post on your Facebook is only resembling 1% of the voice against the population. The remaining are driven by your partner, for example, right? You have your food partners that talk about you, the media that quote about some news about you, some influencers that you hire or organically talk about you, and a lot of them are the public opinion. This is why they engage social listening, because the public opinion is the big data. I can read my post, I can read my comment, but I can never see other people who talk about me, right? And when I build into another time a cluster to aggregate all these things, you realize that this bad customer issue is the largest. Why? It is not Foodpanda is bad. It is talking about some of the customer that actually order food from Foodpanda are very badly behaved. And when people circulate this kind of post, video online, people are discussing about it. Hey, you know, these people have lost their job and then going to become a rider, right? They go 12 hours, 14 hours a day to deliver the food to you. Sometimes they could be late, right? It could be an issue of the restaurant. It could be an issue of other things. It could be issue of the traffic. Or sometimes they are just hungry. They need to stop by somewhere to eat as well, right? So you cannot just scold them or be very, very rude to them when they're late to you, right? This is all about that money. And people agree. Why? Because Foodpanda or GrabFood, they are actually very, very relevant during this pandemic time because they deliver food to your home. And then when you see into this campaign, right, they are very active in launching their own campaign to drive their sales as well because they are competitors. So you can see Grab, they use e-Bencana. e-Bencana is actually a government's subsidy that they works together with GrabFood to give out free credits for you to order food. Right, they launched this first. And then Foodpanda, without the government support, they launched their own Kaki Online, basically means online friends. It's a promote code campaign. And then they work with one of the super powerful delivery merchant called the KFC, right, to give out a very tremendously affordable meal via Kaki Online. And then they drive a lot of campaign, a lot of mentions, right? And you can see when they tangle, of course, everything when the campaign will slow down and die off. But this is what we will tell you that actually your campaign does a little bit better than the Grab. Right? These are the posts basically to show you what posts that actually garnered the most attention. And of course, in the big data analytics, just now I show you how the data before it come in, you will analyze, right? This is the result of it, right? We can see most of the conversations are resolving around rider. Right? No surprise because it's all about delivery. And then you can see the negative versus the positive, and all the way down to your app experience, your price experience, your promotion and discount, your late delivery, and all these things. Right? Just like I was saying, that Foodpanda tend to have more late delivery because they are more overwhelmed, there are more orders, there are more promoted deals. That's why the pressures to deliver also higher for these riders, and that's why they invite a little bit of late delivery. Right? This is all connected, interconnected. And then you go down to example of other topic. Right? What other topic is very important because Foodpanda, they know how to utilize the social media to build a brand. For example, in a market like Malaysia, they love pets, right? So they will work with an influencer to decorate this kind of small gadgets, small toy, and then take some nice shots. And then you garner 10K, 11,000 likes and all these things. So people see a more light touch brand's perceptions on top of the normal operational delivery. And then they also tell story of Foodpanda riders have a good heart for the community, where this is actually a Muslim rider that traditionally they are not supposed to get near to any puppies or dogs. But they show a real example of this rider that actually spent his own income to buy some foods to give out to the stray dogs on the road. And why they do so? Because in a lot of urban, open-minded Muslim in Malaysia, this is where they want to connect their hearts to it. And they build this kind of story organically with a third party to talk about this. So people begins to feel more associated to the value. And this is more branding lesson 101. I wouldn't go further than that. You get the idea. But the whole idea is when you start to talk about your whole community strategy, you can see even this post where you can see a lot of food riders are actually helping those people who are in need in Karachi. Karachi is actually a biggest city in Pakistan, hosting more than 20 millions of populations. They were suffering the largest decades heavy rain downpour. In the end, the whole city is flooded. And you can see these food panda riders are going on the scenes to help people. Right? This kind of thing goes really a long way as an unsung hero. And what we try to cover is to build a successful business, you need to have a balance between your promotions, your active community, but you also need to have a lot of strong stories that people can resemble. Right? This is what we talk about Food Panda. And of course, lastly, right, I will briefly touch base the most important thing that we can help you to conduct deep dive market research based on, for example, if you are a collagen products from a Japanese company, you want to launch into Thailand, we will go into the target group of what you think is relevant. We will segment into when collagen is mentioned. Is it because of you want to consume? Is it because you want to apply? Or because you are just part of the supplements world? And deep diving into which social channel is more relevant in that market, going down into the price point of different skincare products in the local competitions, going down into the kind of product that is available that you may match, right? And going down into the trend of vitamins, going down into the supplements effect that people are hoping to enhance, right? Going down into the issues of different downsides of collagen forms, right? Going down into the opinions that we learn and trying to tell you what kind of packaging that people love, going down into the examples of the colors and the competitors, and also the KOL, right? And also the retail store that people actually use to buy this kind of product. So the whole thing that I'm showing you is basically a full deep dive report for a pre-launch market survey. Right? I wouldn't go very, very slow because this is a real report that we produce. Right? If you have any needs, you can talk to our partners, right, to get a look at the deeper closer. But I'm going to tell you that this is an online to offline research product that we build. Right? Whether it's e-sport as a new trend to enter the market, this is all the thing that we will do for you. And before I end my session, right, I just want to give you one last thing of our technology. The first one is the image analytic. Right? Why I need to do so? Because I think it's important that we understanding that the trend of analyzing text is not enough already. We need to start going to the next level to look into visual. And a year ago, before the pandemic, I was in Tokyo and then I was talking to one of the partners. Right? We were discussing what we can do for Okinawa. And the demo is exactly the same like that I do now. I was scrapping some of the most popular hashtag posts on Instagram about Okinawa. And I tried to use my beta versions to try to tell them that what comes into the photo. And it was a surprise that person is one of the most captured object in some of the most engaged social posting. I was explaining why, because a lot of time, a lot of country tourism, they imagine that when I want to promote a country, I want to show the scene, the sky, the sand, the beautiful scene. Actually, I may object that because when I come into social data understanding, right, I realize that people want to be inside the story, right? They want to be imagining themselves in there. They just don't want to look into beautiful scene. They want to imagine this is a beautiful scene, but it's still a person there. I'm actually watching that scene. And then you realize that in terms of creative executions, the messaging is important that you place people at first when you want to try to convince people to go to somewhere. This is the food you eat. This is the people you see. This is the cultural activities. Everything has a human, so you can feel that kind of engagement. In the whole idea of what we do as a Zanroo, I hope that I bring you the kind of momentum that you realize that this is really something different, right? And this is something very real because besides the thank you, I want to say that is maybe this is a time that everyone can imagine. Data analytic is more than just 1 year one time, 6 months one time, but it's real time. It's really real time. And knowing and powering this social data at least can help you to minimize a lot of risk of making mistake, doing a better marketing, right? Understanding your competitor, right? Taking advantage of external news and environment. So in every market, even though you are a smaller company, but you can enjoy that strength of a traditional MNC company, right? To enter to a new market at a lower cost, faster and more effective, right? And of course, if you want to connect to me directly, you can email me, right? If you prefer the old school way. Of course, if you want to be more personal, you can connect to my mobile, right? Whether it's Line ID, WhatsApp ID, or my phone number, or professionally, you can scan me to connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you have any questions that I cannot cover with you today because unfortunately I can't be there, feel free to discuss with me and I will try my best to help you out, right? With that, thank you, Meet Taipei again, and I end my sharing.